How's it going? Welcome back to Class A Van Life. So, this week I want to talk to you about something a little different here. Last week I was watching a video by a lady with a channel north of somewhere Nomad. Deborah, I believe, is her name. And she was talking about the homeless issue in Victoria. And she was mentioning that, there's lots of homeless encampments and lots of people addicted to drugs that are on the streets. Here's my take on that. So here's the thing with being on the street. It's kind of a never-ending cycle. You're on the street, you're not happy, you're not comfortable, you're not, you're not safe. So people get depressed, and they want to get out of it, so they start using, right? Whether it be drugs, alcohol, what have you. So the government is doing absolutely nothing to mediate that. And our homeless problem in Canada in general, actually all over the world for the most part, is unprecedented in how bad it has become. So when people get addicted to fentanyl, or heroin, or some drug like that, they can go to these safe injection sites. So the government gives them the drugs, but then they don't follow up on any other resources. There's no housing options for them. They don't really try to get them into any counseling or anything, or any kind of addiction programs. So that in itself is a failure on the government's part, because basically all they're doing is keeping them addicted to whatever drug they're on. But I was watching a video about this place in Finland, I think it was, and they had 3 or 4 housing units that were for homeless people, to get homeless people off the streets. They had one temporary housing unit, and then 2 or 3 actual apartment housing units. So what they would do is they would get these people off the street, still addicted, get them into a temporary housing unit, right? And then they would get them the resources they needed, whether it be counseling, whether it be some kind of a detox program, or another program to help you get off the drugs. I can't remember the name of them right now, but and most people, given the chance, don't really want to be on the street. Some people do. Some people like to be addicted. They don't want to get clean, and that's just the life that they're going to live. But a lot of people are homeless um, not because they want to be, but because of their circumstances. Um, so if you give them the option to get out of it, um, most of them are going to take it. And what I found in watching this video was that when most people got an apartment and knew that they had that apartment for as long as they wanted it, they cleaned themselves up on their own, right? So, you know, that sketchy lady that you see pushing a buggy down the street now has a home. She doesn't look so sketchy, right? She can shower every day. She can cook. She has some semblance of normalcy in her life. So then she starts to take pride in herself and get a little confidence back, you know, with the people that are around her helping her, and she starts to live again, right? And that's how this is supposed to be done. What's going on here is just wrong. The government's, I don't know, too greedy to spend the money to follow up with the housing, with homeless, with the housing. The housing situation here is so bad. There's probably 500,000 people for BC housing. There's probably 500,000 people or more on this list. The waiting list, it's not weeks, it's not months, it's years. I have been on this list for 4 years, okay? And I was waiting, you know, for the phone call. I'm gonna get a phone call any day saying they have an apartment for me and life is gonna be grand. Hang on one sec here, I got a plane overhead. We are right over the flight path to Vancouver International Airport, so this is gonna happen once in a while. But anyway, so I'm waiting, thinking that any day they're gonna phone me, and so I figured I'd check in with them one day. So I call him up, and he asked me. He says, "Well, you have a dog, don't you?" I says, "Yeah, I have a dog. You know, she's well behaved. She's good mannered. She's, you know, she doesn't bark, and everybody loves her. Very friendly." He says, "Oh, well, would you be willing to rehome her?" No, I'm not willing to rehome her. He says, "Well, if that's the case," he says, "your chances of getting into a place go from roughly 75% down to 15%, 20%. Because of the lack of apartments that take animals, right? There's only, I don't know, maybe a dozen in the whole system, if that. A lot of them won't take big dogs, no matter how well behaved they are. So that made it pretty clear to me that my chances of getting a house or an apartment, as long as I have a dog, were slim to none, which motivated me to take the path that I'm now on. Because I don't want to be living in a tent under a bridge. Um, which is a lot of people's reality. Um, and I'm kind of one of the lucky ones. I'm fairly blessed in that I had a little bit of savings um, left. I had some assets, a couple of assets. So I had the funds to be able to set myself up so that Dory and I can live over the winter, and that's what I'm setting up for, is so that we can live and be comfortable in all seasons, and we don't have to worry about cooking or staying warm, right? So that's why I got this camper van, is because this will allow us to be fairly comfortable given the situation. But a lot of people don't even have that, and they're living rough. They're sleeping in tents and living a rough life, right? They're not living, they're surviving. And Canada is a little bit different because they kind of know they handle the tent cities a little bit different, because they know that a lot of people just have no other options, and they have no other options to offer them. So they just kind of let them be until enough people bitch, and then they'll move them to a different area. And right now they're trying to clean up downtown Vancouver, but if you go to the east side, Hastings and Main Street, that is such a cesspool down there. It's not even funny. And I can only imagine what people are going through in America with the shit that Trump's doing. He has just essentially made homelessness a crime. And it's I never ever thought that I would see this world in a state that it's in, where a sitting president would would knowingly make homelessness a crime, right? Why would you do that? Why wouldn't you help lift these people up and help get them off the street, and help them become functioning parts of society, instead of just trying to sweep them all under the rug, right? So he figures if they shut down a homeless camp and kick everybody out and burn all their tents, that there's no more homeless camp. Well, no, that's not how it works. We all know that. Anybody with a brain knows that. Apparently that's something Trump lacks. But and there's ways that if the government really wanted, they could handle this, but they're too greedy. Don't want to take the time. Don't want to spend the money. You know, they're too busy trying for these Olympics and other stuff, and you know, they're so busy looking in everybody else's backyard that you know they're not looking at their own. And you know, if you can't help yourself, how are you expected to help anybody else? You know, so we as a society are not in a good place, you know, because people are falling through the cracks and nobody's doing anything about it, you know. And unless you're smart enough to be able to figure it out for yourself, you were gonna have a tough time, and that makes me sad. Like I said, I'm one of the fortunate ones. I have my little amount of savings I have left. If I do it right, is allowing me to be able to build a setup that will keep Dory and I pretty comfortable. And you know, here's the thing with living, the government has a new name for it. It's called living unhoused. We are, you know, my view, there's homeless. If you're living in a tent under a bridge, you're homeless. If you're living in a vehicle, you're considered unhoused. But, you know, in some ways that can be spiritual, because you don't have room for all the stuff, you know. You can't go out and buy all the things. You know, you're not getting Amazon deliveries every second day, right? It's small space living, so you have to live not meager, but in the case of small space living, less is more, right? So you have what you need and nothing else. Maybe one or two things you want, if you can fit them in your van or your RV or your vehicle, or you know, whatever. But if you don't need it, chances are you're not getting it. You can't just you know, buy something, set it aside, and you know, don't look at it for 6 months. That's something my ex used to do all the time. She'd buy something just because it was on sale. Not gonna touch it for 6 months, but had to have it because it was on sale. Yay! I saved money. No, you didn't. If you didn't buy it, you just saved money. But if you buy it and don't use it, well, you're not saving anything. So I just thought I'd throw my 2 cents in as far as that goes. With the van, we got the van timed now. We got it so it'll run without backfiring. So now it's just a little bit of maintenance that needs to be done. So we're going to I have a carb kit ordered, so next week I'm gonna get my mechanic to throw that on. New temperature sensor, maybe thermostat, and then she should be good, and then we can start building it out. So that'll probably happen, I don't know. The van probably won't be done mechanically until middle or the end of next week. So we'll probably start building it out next weekend. And so I've been trying to spend a lot of time in it, trying to think about the layout, and how I want to do things versus, how it was previously laid out in the van. And that is not easy to do. I don't know. It's I haven't opened the fridge yet, so I don't know if the fridge needs to be vented. So that will dictate on which side of the van where the fridge will go. And on the drinker's side, the side with the doors, by the time you put that bed in the back, there's not a lot of room, and you get that fridge, and that's an oversized fridge, right? That's it's a 12-volt fridge, but to me it looks like either just smaller than an apartment size, or like an RV fridge or something. Except it's not 3-way; it's only 1-way. It's only 12 volts. So, yeah, I don't know. And somebody's supposed to come and look at the Ford on next week. So maybe that'll go, and that would be good. That would be good timing, And it's funny just how the universe works, as far as when shit needs to happen, right? And because now we're getting close to the engine being done and the van being ready, right? As soon as that van is ready, then I can pull the insurance on the Ford, so I'm not paying insurance for 2 vehicles. I've only which one I'm driving at a time here. So, and that Ford is the more expensive of the 2 insurances that I'm paying for. So, but yeah, all of a sudden out of the blue, I get a message from this guy saying, he wants to come and look at it, and then, I'm going to take a little bit of a hit on it, but not too much, and I think it's going to be just enough money to be able to get what I need done, and that would be solar. Get a solar set up. That's panels, batteries, charge controller, and then a solar generator, like a power station, and I think that's it. I have the fridge. I have a generator. I think that's it. And maybe another diesel heater. I'm not sure about the one that I have. I got that from my buddy Andrew, and he gave it to me because it wasn't working properly for him. And I can't remember why. I think it might have been the glow plug. And I have a glow plug and a glow plug puller someplace. I don't think it's with the stuff I have. I think it's packed away with in a box, God knows where, in storage. So I'm thinking I might just these diesel heaters are cheap enough. Guy could just buy another one and keep that one as a backup, or parts or something. I don't know. But yeah, and yeah. Oh, and an AC setup, a 12-volt AC system. There's a couple of them out there, so we'll have to see. And I wouldn't really need the AC, but I have to have it for summertime, for Dory when I go into these shopping stores or go shower, or when I have to leave her in the van during the summertime when it's really fucking cooking hot. Because I like, as it stands now, I have to pick and choose when I do these things, and it's usually later in the day when it's not so hot. So, and I leave the van windows open, and just hope that nobody steals it and her. But she's pretty good when it comes to guarding the van. If anybody was to try and break in, I think she would get all guard doggy and start barking and protect it. But yeah, so that was my 2 cents on the homeless situation, and a little tidbit on where I am with the van. We're getting close with that van. We're getting close. I'm thinking maybe another 3 weeks. 3 weeks to a month, and we'll be into it. I'm excited. I'm excited for this. And yeah, and then in a little while here, you guys will meet Gary. And yeah. So, all right, guys, I'm gonna leave this one here. So you guys have a good week, and just be kind to people. Treat people the way that you want to be treated. This world is already a hostile enough place without everybody being hostile towards each other. Be nice. You might change somebody's life. So on that note, have a good week, everybody, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.